Hello, I'm here to tell you about the decision system and how it's set up. And I'm first going to talk generally about templates and macros, because that's in Microsoft Word, because that is what this is all based on, templates and macros. What are templates and what are macros? Well, templates are a type of Word document that can be used as the basis for a more specific Word document. So in fact, all of the decision system is based on one or more templates that I have created and have attached macros to. Now, to show you an example of what a template is, so you get the idea, I have put most of the templates that are used by the system into WP51 templates forms. That's where I've located them. And in the other macros I've written, I reference this directory when I want to pull up the templates. So this is all the files that contain the form decisions that we use, the computation decisions that we use, as well as the standard letters that we use. And to open a template, I should explain that a template has a different extension than a normal Word document. A normal Word document will, in the old version of Word, have the DOC extension. In the new version of Word, it's the DOC X extension. A template document will have a DOT extension in the old version of Word, and in the newer version of Word it'll be DOTM. The concepts are the same. The templates, which are DOTs and DOTMs, there should be a period in front there, are documents that act as models for other documents. That's the best way I can explain it. That's what templates are. So if we go back and we look at let's say the standard letter that we use here in the Escondido office, if I were to double click that, I would get a new document based on that template, and it would open up all the initial form and everything else just like you see when you run the software. But if I want to look at just the raw template and open it, you will see that it has the letterhead and the date, which is a field that gets automatically updated by the actual date, as well as my name. But all the other, but all the other matter are placeholders, which then are used by the macro code that is behind this particular document. So as you see, this is kind of a template or a model for a more specific decision. On the other hand, if we look at another one of these documents, such as, let's say, the Medi-Cal computation, if I open that one up, you won't see anything at all. That's because nothing is going to happen to this particular document or a new document based on this template until some of the macro code actually runs and creates the computation. So that is the template concept. Now, there is a main template document, and that's the template document that runs every time you start up Word. And the way I have designed the system, I have a slightly different version of this document for each region, That way it can call up the different order of counties for the form decisions and the different letterhead for the form decisions, for example. But these various template documents are identical. I just make minute changes to them, and so I have a different version for each region. But again, if I opened up this, this one is in a different directory. It's in Documents and Settings, My Name, Application Data, Microsoft Word Startup, and it's there because any any template document that's put into this folder will open automatically anytime Word opens. And again, if we look at this template document, again you see nothing. And that's because there's nothing to this, there's actually nothing to this template document other than a blank document and a bunch of menus. All the menu system and many of the things that the menu system does are contained within this template. But for example, the reg groups are in this template document. The way of putting pararegs in decisions, or to looking at the scrolled pararegs, they're all parts of macros that are written into this template. But of course, there's nothing, unlike the letterhead that I just showed you, there's nothing to start with that's up there. It's all based on what the user creates. So it's a template based on a blank screen. There's actually another template document that starts every time that Word starts up, and that's called the normal document. And that's actually the normal template. And that's actually in a different directory, and I only mention it because I'll be working with that particular template in just a second. But it's not really part of our decision system. So hopefully I've sufficiently explained the concept of templates. You don't quite get it. I think you'll kind of get it as we proceed along, because the next major topic, or the major thing that this system is built around, is macros. And what are macros? Well, they're simple instructions, they're simple or complicated instructions to the computer to do a bunch of repetitive tasks. And I will go over some of the various essentials in creating macros as I proceed. Looking at it in the most simple way, you can create, as a user, you can create a macro pretty easily with the tools Word gives you and without any kind of programming knowledge. But what I'm going to try to do is show you how to create a macro in that way and then adjust it based on a little bit of programming. In order to work with the macro system, you need to have this developer tab, which I'm pointing to now, on top of the ribbon, on the menus on top of the ribbon. If you don't see that, just go over to this Office button, the circular button, open it up, then click on Word Options, and then on this Show Developer tab in the ribbon, make sure that that's clicked. Now that you're back in your document, we're back to a blank document. I'm going to click on the Developer ribbon, and you'll notice that you can record a macro. There's a button for it. If you click that button, you will get another screen saying that the macro you're about ready to record is going to be called macro number 17. I'll explain that in a minute. But that's going to be its name, unless we change it. We could change it if we wanted to. And the if we wanted to, we could put it on a button or on the keyboard. And once we've done it, where it's proposing to put it is into the normal template. Now, we could put it, make it only available to this particular document. Those are the two options we have. So we'll put it in the normal template, and I'll show you what that means in a second. So I'm going to put it on, I'm going to assign this macro to the keyboard. What that means is, simply means, is if I hit the combination of keys that I just identified here, when I hit that combination of keys from now on in Word, Word will call up that macro. That saves me from manually grabbing this macro off a menu. So I'm going to say, I'm going to make this macro operate when I click the keystrokes Alt-Shift-A. So I've just clicked Alt-Shift-A, and I'm going to click the button that says Assign, and then I'm going to close this screen. Now actually my cursor has a little recorder on it, and that recorder is going to stop once I select Stop up here. But until then, it's just going to record my keystrokes. So if I say this, or if I type this is a test. And then I take my little cursor that has a recorder on it and click Stop Recording. My macro's done. And now, if I hit the Enter key a couple of times and then hit Alt-Shift-A, I'm going to get a repetition of what I just typed, which is fine. So that's kind of another way of doing shorthand, isn't it? You can type up something, save it to a set of keystrokes, or first of all you choose to record the macros, identify what keystroke it's going to go to, then type out your text, and then save it or stop recording, and then every time you hit that keystroke you're going to get what you just did. Not quite as handy as shorthand, but it is a way of doing the same thing. But what I want to do is show you how you can look at the code, because every macro you make has some code to it. I'm going to show you how to get to the code that was behind the macro we just made. And to do that, there's a button here on this developer ribbon called Visual Basic. And you can also get to Visual Basic by simply using the keystrokes Alt plus F11, which is what I do all the time, just to get to this screen. You get a totally new screen here. I usually maximize it. This screen will have three distinct parts. On the top left, it will show you the various projects and templates, or the basic, in other words, the basic documents, if you want to consider the template a different kind of document. The various things, for lack of a better word, that Word is running. They're all listed right here. And so, in this particular case, the various things are Document 1 and Document 2, which I happen to be on right now. These are documents that are like blank screens that I haven't assigned anything to, that I haven't assigned a name yet to. Then there are the two templates. There are these three templates. There's Normal, which is the template that we just wrote the macro to. There's also My Normal, which happens to be a personal template series of macros that I put in the startup directory that I personally use. And then there's the template project for which is our main global template that is the main part of our system with all the buttons and everything else. But the macro we just wrote, we put into the normal directory because that was our choice. And if I click the plus button and expand both normal and now expand modules, because all the macros are in modules, and then go new macros, that's where the macro we just recorded will be. And I go all the way to the bottom, and you will notice that it's macro 17, the very name that we saw when it asked us what name to give it. I could have given it a different name. And you will see that each macro has a line in front of it. It starts with the term sub, and when the macro's all over, it says end sub. And these little things in green here with the little apostrophes in front of it, those aren't code. Those are just annotations. Anytime you want to put an annotation, you can just start it with an apostrophe. It's going to be written in green, and it's not going to be part of the code. And real good code writers often put a lot of notes into the code that they write so people can understand the code they write. And I'm not a real good code writer, so I'm not a real, let's put it this way, meticulous code writer, so I don't do that. But be that as it may, this wasn't done by me or anybody else. It was simply done by the machine. What it does is it says selection, type text, text equals this is a text. Some things to observe here. Selection refers to, you got to think about, you just got to sort of think about the way the computer works now, or the way Word works. Selection refers to where that cursor is in that document you're working on. It could be an entire bunch of text that you've just highlighted in selected. In that case, that's a selection. Or it simply could be the point right where the cursor is, be it in the middle of a paragraph, beginning of the next paragraph, wherever, beginning of the document. But wherever that cursor is, that's the selection. And it's saying where the selection is, type text. So type something. And the text we're going to have is going to be called "This is a test." Notice that "This is a test" is in quotes. If you're going to be typing some letters as opposed to a number, you have to put the letters, in programming terms it's called a string. You have to put the letters in a set of quotes. But let me show you how we can modify this macro to do the same thing. Not that it's anything that we really need to do, but I want to show you one of the key ingredients to all computer programming, which is variables. Now, variables aren't these horrible things that I had to struggle with in algebra, and I really did struggle in algebra. But they're a lot, at least easier for me when it comes to computer programming. All they are things that can change based on what you tell them to be changed to, so that you can use them to manipulate information that ends up being very useful for writing the kinds of routines that we use in our system. That sounds a little complicated, so let me just demonstrate. Let's create a variable and just call it simply A. And let's make A equal, and it always tells me I'm doing something wrong sometimes. Let's make A equal "This is a test." Period. Then let's just change this to A. What should happen is that instead of the computer, you should get the same result from the computer, but we've coded it a little different, and we've made A the inmate. So let's see if it works. We'll go back to the document, which we simply do by going down here to the taskbar and switching from the Visual Basic back to the document. And then if I hit Control or Alt-Shift-A, I get this as a test again. So in other words, I made, instead of explicitly telling it to type this is a test, I told it to type A, and at the moment A happens to be this is a test. But if I was to say A now equals this is not a test, and I went back and ran the same macro, I would get this is not a test. So the point is, with a variable, based on what you have the user enter, you can then manipulate what eventually goes into the end product. So that is an example of how to create a macro in a very simple way, how to look at the code that the macro is created, and then how to change the macro so that it uses a variable instead of an explicit instruction. If that makes any sense. So, how does this work, for example, in our form decision environment? Well, let me show you. We're going to learn about something different, and this is called these are called forms. So I go up in here to normal. I'm going to end up deleting this because I don't want really any forms in here, but this is just an example. And I right click the mouse over the objects here, and it says one of my options is insert, and what I can insert is a user form. Okay? And all of this, I lose everything else and I get this. Well, what is this? This is like a blank slate. And you'll notice I have some tools here. Tools up here. I'm going to use a couple of these tools. Okay? One tool I'm going to use is called the label tool. So what do? I just click on the label tool, bring my cursor over here, drag it, and now I got a label. Now with the label, I can go into these properties, which are in the left-hand bottom, and I can change some of the things that are in this label, such as I can change the caption from being label 1 to what is the number. And all of a sudden, we'll see what is the number there. Okay? And probably should put a question mark by it. let's say I want to make it bigger. Well, I can mess with the fonts down here. So let's make it bigger. Let's make it this size. And all of a sudden it becomes big like that. Well, that is just like painting a sign. What is the number? That's what a label is. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in what we call a text box, which is another one of the items in the toolbox. And that's where I'm going to put the answer to what the number is. Now, doesn't this look a lot like what you see in the form decisions, kind of, or the computations? It's just going to be a very simple one of those. Now I'm going to take one more item off the toolbox. It's the command button. And I'm going to change the caption on the command button to say OK. And I want it bigger too, so I'm going to change the font. By highlighting this, I'm going to change the font so that's bigger too. Oops, I'm going to make it bigger. Okay? Okay. So, now I've got user form 1, that's the name of it. I can change the name, let's say, to test. And I can I'm going to have to give this command box I'm going to have to give it an instruction. And the way I do that is to right-click the mouse and go to View Code, and I'm going to see some code that is just for, I'm going to have to write some code in a new macro that is just for this particular form. It's called test. And I'm just going to say test. And that is going to tell the test form not to run anymore. So, what does this have all to do with anything? Let's go back to the macro that we initially created. Let's change it. Let's erase all of this. And then let's make as our first command that we show the form. And then let's make as our next command that A equals, instead of this is a test, we're going to make A equal test text box 1, which is the first text box, that was the name of it, text. Or I could put value. Okay? That's going to make the variable A test box 1 text. Now let's say we want that to be in the decision or in our Word document. Then all we do is say selection type, wonderful types, type text, and instead of having that text, this is a test like it shows up here, I can simply say A as a way of doing it. And notice I don't have to post because it's a variable I'm working with as opposed to a string. So those three simple lines are what constitute the new macro 17, which we can still call up by pressing Alt Shift A. So let's go back and try it. Back in the document, I press Alt Shift A. of a sudden I get this form. And I type in 13, let's say, and I click the OK button. Now when I click the OK button, remember we added a little bit of code just to this form, and that code said once I click this button, don't show the form anymore. So what should happen is the form should disappear. Let's see. It didn't. So that's when we go back to troubleshoot. Go back here. And this is what I have to do all the time on this stuff. I go back to test form, view code, and I see what the problem was. I didn't put the code in the right place. I need to have the code attached to the command button. Now it's testing, right? I corrected the error. Go back to document 2. I hit Control Shift OK. I type 13 as my answer. I click OK, and we end up getting 13 in the document, and the whole macro is run. So hopefully that is a bit of a first introduction to this. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will move on for the next lesson.